So really, in terms of preparing the property, we're preparing it for our tenant, and we're only going to renovate it to the standard that's going to allow us to maximise our yield. We're looking to hold for at least the medium term, but some of us here might want to actually hold for the longer term, so we've got to take all that into account. So in terms of what preparation you might do, you want to make this property a desirable place to live. You should know at this point precisely what work will be done, by whom it will be done, using what time frame and how much it was going to cost you. Don't forget at this point as well, as soon as those contractors are out of there, you want to be making sure you've got your professional clean in. It's a step that some investors forget, and it can really compromise the way that the house presents. In terms of getting the contractors in, you want to be liaising with your contract manager before the date of settlement. You don't want to leave it till the day of settlement and then say, look, can you get in there now? Confirm your requirements, so make sure that whatever contract you've got in place is agreed and is really going to meet what you want on time. Review and monitor the agreed schedule once they get in there. So the goal is to complete the work as quickly as possible in order for a tenant to move in. Now, as far as getting the tenant physically in there, you want to be liaising with your property manager during this time, but there's two factors to consider, which is the level of demand and the state of the property. So some investors are just adamant that they do not want tenants walking through their places until they're actually fully completed and ready to go. One of the things I would say is that you cannot rely on the tenant to use good imagination when it comes to this sort of stuff. So you really, I guess my general advice would be try and present as close to finished product to people. Work with your property manager to assess the timing of when you're going to start advertising or marketing the property for rental. And really make sure that you encourage your property manager to coordinate with the contractors. So, encourage them as members of your team to work with each other. Communicate very clear expectations to your property manager about the urgency of the rental. And you want to make no bones about that. You want them to understand that you want a tenant in there ASAP. What you want to do is review their process for screening tenants. And we talked about this when we're building the team. We would have asked about that process. And we just want to make sure now that we're talking about our property, that it actually gets carried out. We want to make sure that screening process isn't compromised. So yes, they understand that we urgently want someone in there, but they're not going to compromise the ticks and checks they do. We want to keep a record of the tenancy agreement. In terms of final checks, I would be asking my property manager to go and audit and verify any work that was done by the contractor, especially if I'm based back here in Australia by that point. When they go in, they would check, all the things that are on the bid memo to say that this is the work that's been completed. Was it actually done? And if necessary, prior to the tenant moving in, if a certificate of occupancy is necessary, then they organise that for you as well. And finally, the 10th step of our 10-step process is about management. You never ever want to buy and forget. So you want to keep on monitoring. So keep on looking after your property after it's tenanted. You should have a very comfortable relationship with your property manager by now. You should have some level of contact with them on a regular basis. And you should, at this point, have a clear agreement on the service that's going to be provided. There should be no confusion there. Some tips that I've got for you guys is test the responsiveness of your property manager before it's actually tenanted. So when you're working with them, how quickly do they respond to your emails and your phone calls? How you maintain contact is a completely personal choice. It's up to you guys. You can email them or stay in touch over the phone or actually visit them physically. But whatever you do, I'd say just make it at least a monthly contact. Don't become a pain in the butt client. Having said all of that, you don't want to annoy your property manager. But find legitimate reasons to stay in touch. Like perhaps you're interested in what's going on in the local real estate market and you might just touch base and see whether there's anything movement happening there. The key is to maintain a relationship and deal with problems as they occur. Now, hopefully, once you buy properties in these good quality areas with good quality tenants, the number of properties that you have, problems that you have, should be minimised and restricted to very trivial things like property maintenance issues and so forth.